Hello and welcome to Dan Talks United, another Monday night reflection on a Tuesday. But that's purely because we've been playing on Monday nights at 8 p.m. So I think we get a break from that now this week because we play on Sunday. So we can resume the normal time slot for these reflections. So as always, we'll be doing a quick recap on Manchester United's game and also on the traditional top sixes results and how that leaves us for the weekend, how that leaves us in terms of the league and the league standing and the points and where we might fare going forward. So let's get into this. Starting off with our game against Bournemouth. As we know, it was 4-4 draw. It wasn't a ball draw though. And yes, I've had that chance now to digest, to calm down, to reflect, see it from a different lens. And I've watched the highlights. And yes, as I felt yesterday, it was a really good first half from us in the main, especially from attacking point of view. I think we've lacked attacking prowess at times. We were looking good, definitely, to go into the half there with the lead. Definitely should have been more than 2-1. You could probably say that we shouldn't have conceded a goal, but again, if we defend poorly, then we deserve to concede. But we definitely were worth the lead going into that half-time interval. Like I say, it was really good, exciting forward play from Manchester United. Kind of not expecting that, if I'm honest. There was that sort of teaser that we might have changed, or Amorim might have changed the formation slightly and maybe even gone down that 4-3-3 route that a lot of people, including myself, is sort of itching for now because I'm losing a little bit of patience with a 3-4-3, purely because, there's two things in a sense. One being, have we got enough players to play it or the right players to play it? And then two being, can Amorim really get this team to, or coach this team to play that system? Now, he hasn't failed up to now with other teams, but with Manchester United, different beast, juggernaut, is he struggling a little bit? I don't know, but I think when things don't seem to be working, you want to make a change and you kind of want to go back to default, what we're used to. Quite excited when Amorim first came in because I thought, okay, this system's a bit foreign to us, but it's you sort of think, well, has or was 4-3-3 working consistently and a sustained performance where we were finishing high up in the table? Yeah, there was times where we finished in second position, maybe in third and what have you, but it wasn't consistent. We didn't ever look like we were near to winning the league. So it was nice to have a change. Also exciting to think that with that change will come a change in the squad, quite massively, in the sense of it would need plenty of players that can play the system, which results in plenty of transfers, results in plenty of players having to go through the door. Still a few players that are sort of lingering on after many, many years. We would see the back of them. Wasn't expecting it all in one sort of summer window, for example, but over time I was expecting that they were going to back Amorim and really get that squad that he needs to play his system. But as it stands, it's very difficult sometimes to work out whether it's his system, the players, a combination of both. Obviously, the hierarchy has to come into this in regards to setting that tone from the top right down to the bottom. However, this is where we are. So, in regards to the game and who scored and what have you, obviously, Ahmad got that first goal, quite a simple goal in the end, if you want to call it a tap-in with his head. Couldn't miss that one. And then Casemiro, relentless as always, a danger at corners. Probably should he have, I wouldn't say he should have scored before then because he got his head onto it, it flicked and went on to one of the Bournemouth defenders' hands after it's come off another part of his body. Often refs don't give them when it's hit off another part of the body, then onto the hand. I don't know. I think Casemiro's header was, I'm not saying it was going in, but if it's goal bound and then the thing that stops it from going towards goal is a hand, should it be a penalty? debatable. So then, third one was an absolute stunner from Bruno. So just when he's probably had his critics through the game, he does an absolute stunning free kick as he did. Top corner, keeper couldn't save it, even though the keeper should have done better with Casemiro's his header, second for Manchester United, his header from a corner. A bit of Onanaisms in there for their keeper, but you definitely couldn't have saved Bruno's strike from a free kick. Top bins, two keepers probably would have struggled with that. And then fourth goal, where Cunha probably thought he won the game. Nice finish from Cunha, nice play up until that point. And then you could tell from Cunha's celebrations, he thought, yes, I've arrived, love playing for Manchester United, boyhood fan, scores a winner, and then gets snatched away with our poor defending yet again. Now, like I say, I touched on one of the penalties. I think there was at least 3 penalty shouts probably within that game where it's come off a hand here and there. Also, it's debatable whether Semenyo should have stayed on the pitch because probably didn't grab the throat of Dalot as long as Casemiro grabbed the throat of Hughes when we played against Palace that time. But he still did it. There was still intent. Yes, Dalot was a little bit naughty, sort of nudging him whilst he was in the air. Could have really injured him, to be fair, so I can see why he was angry. However, you don't take the law into your own hands. You allow the referee to sort that out. If he stands up and doesn't do anything, then Dalot probably gets a yellow card and then that's it. But in this circumstance, obviously he's got up, he's retaliated, he's grabbed, or he's made to grab Dalot's throat. And again, ref, VAR, you name it, he's ignored it. Anyway, whether it would have made a difference, you might find that if Bournemouth had have gone down to 10 men, it could have been more difficult to break them down because they may have to shut up shop. So you never know how a game would pan out if someone had gone down to 10 men. I mean, look what happened when Everton went down to 10 men. We ended up losing the game. So you just never know. So just to cover some slight news, if you want to call it news. Couple of things during the game yesterday that's been noticed and is online for everybody to see. So first of all, we will start with this. So this gentleman, a lot of people might not know who this gentleman is, but he's been on Love Island. He's got this t-shirt on there saying Free Cobby Mano, and he happens to be Cobby's half-brother. Now, after such a dignified approach from Cobby, where he's not really said anything about not playing, the only thing he's said is that he wants to go out on loan to get some minutes and to get some game time and maybe even force his way into that England squad. He's remained professional, he's remained quiet. I haven't seen anything anywhere where he's slagged the club off or slagged Amorim off, and then look what his half-brother does here. What an idiot. Now, we've had this sort of stuff from Sancho, Garnacho wearing Aston Villa tops with Rashford's name on and all that sort of stuff, and Rashford doing silly things as well. But when Cobby's done so well to stay dignified and professional, you've got idiot family members that do stupid shit like this. But this is modern football for you. This is what happens. You just never know when someone's going to do something. And for me, he's just an attention-seeking, you-know-what, who's just probably put all this on his Instagram. And then moving on to another bit of news is just when we are 3-2 down, if this is correct. I mean, I do remember this was in the heat of the moment when I'm a bit tense and watching the game, but I do remember the cameras panning to Maguire and Heaton, and I'm thinking, what are these two laughing at? But if it's true that it was 3-2 at the time, because I mean, you never know these days with AI and all that sort of stuff, but nevertheless, I'm sure when it panned to Maguire and Heaton that we were losing at the time, and it's just not a good look. It really isn't a good look. Now, everything's in context. He may come out and say you've got it completely wrong or what have you, but it's still not a good look when your team's losing 3-2. But I thought I'd just share that with you just for a bit of fun there. These these things happen on social media. Social media will always get you. That is the problem. There's cameras everywhere. There's camera phones everywhere. You can barely get away with anything these days. And also, this was caught on Sky Sports cameras anyway, because, like I say, I remember it panning to these two sat there in the crowd. So let's just have a look at what the results meant for us and what happened with our rivals then. So let's just go on to, so just to let you know, I'll be going on to FootMob again, and that's where it's getting stuff like stats from and what have you, and just to break down the games. So let's just share that now. So as you can see there at the top, we've got Chelsea. So Maresca was under a bit of pressure because sort of patchy sort of results and form of late, but that's a good 2-0 win there against Everton, because Everton have had a upturn in form. They've been getting some good results on the board, and I must admit, before the games, I probably would have predicted a draw there, or maybe even a sneaky little Everton away win. However, Chelsea have cemented that lead there and putting the points on the board again. And then coming down to the Scousers, hoping that we could carry on laughing at Liverpool and put more pressure on Slot. But they go and win 2-0 against Brighton. Again, Brighton are one of those teams where if they're good, they're good. If they're not type teams. So you just never know what you're going to get with Brighton sometimes. And then Arsenal. So after I was a little bit disappointed with the way we beat Wolves, happy that we won, happy that we got the points, but I felt that really pissed off when we conceded and didn't get a clean sheet. And obviously moments in that game when it was 1-1, I'm just fearing the worst. We ended up, in terms of scoreline, convincingly beating them, but I still felt that it wasn't convincing on the eye. And then you see Arsenal that are lauded as playing really attractive football and steamrolling teams and what have you, especially at the Emirates. And if I'm not mistaken, both goals for Arsenal were own goals, obviously by Wolves. So you haven't even scored a goal, and you're meant to be the trendsetters, and you've struggled to beat Wolves there. But again, a win's a win, as people say, and if that was the result, that was the difference between winning the league or not, then they're going to take it, aren't they? But still, I'd be a bit concerned with that, if I'm honest. So, City then, noisy neighbours, they beat Crystal Palace 3-0. So maybe they took advantage as we did, because I think Palace played again on that Thursday night. So it was telling when we played against them. And then on to Spursy. They've lost 3-0 to Forest. So that puts them back a little bit and puts Thomas the Frank Engine under pressure, as expressions would say. And the big derby of the weekend, Sunderland versus Newcastle. Sunderland get that goal. I believe it was, is it Walter Meader, who's done an excellent headed finish, but in the wrong net. And then it was quite good to see Sunderland recreating that celebration that I believe Newcastle must have done. Don't know how long ago that was, where they've done like a group photo thing. Sunderland did the same. So that was good to see. And then just moving on to Villa, because obviously we play them next, and it would be nice to see them slowed down a little bit, but they have had a good turn of form themselves under Emery, and they snatched that 3-2 win there at West Ham. Don't know how close the game was, but hearing a couple of commentaries on it, it looked like they're relying on wonder strikes again. And I just don't know how long that's going to last, but hopefully that ends when they play us. And then right at the bottom there is our result of 4-4. 4. So what that means for us then, obviously we pushed up into 6th position. I think if we'd have got that win against Bournemouth, that would have put us in 5th, so slightly higher. That would have meant that we'd have snatched 5th off Palace. However, we're in that top 6 area. As I've said before, if we could stay in and around there and then sort of have a push on into the new year and towards May, then who knows where we're going to end up then. But we just need to stay in and amongst the pack and not fall behind now. Obviously, the odd draw here and there is going to slow us down. We need to sort out our leaky defence because we are obviously conceding as much as we're scoring of late. And obviously, that's got to change because if teams in and amongst us start to pick up a little bit of a run, a bit of form, it could be difficult us getting back into it. So, obviously, the loss for Spurs helps us out a little bit in the sense of just keeps one of those rivals back a tad, and also the loss for Newcastle as well sort of stops their momentum, and we've got Newcastle soon as well, so that'll be another interesting game. So before we wrap things up, I'd like you to put your comments in below. How do you feel that we played against Bournemouth? Do you think that we deserved a win? Do you think it was just an exciting game to watch and you're quite happy with a 4-4 thriller at Old Trafford? What do you think needs to be changed? Do you think that Amorim should trial a 4-3-3 or adapt slightly? So obviously, if you listen to certain tacticos, they believe that there was a slight tweak against Bournemouth, in the sense of there was moments where it looked like we were playing four at the back, maybe in the sort of build-up phases. But yeah, there was that sort of teaser, as I was saying before, that there was training in a 4-3-3. So it's probably in preparation for Mbeumo and Ahmad being away at AFCON, and what detriment that's going to be to us because there's 2 key players there down one side as well, down that right-hand side. And obviously we've got a lot of players that are probably better suited to 4-3-3, and obviously that 5 at the back doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to defend better, and obviously it's seen and it's telling with our results, and often it's about setup, it's about what I suppose what players know and what players are comfortable with. And as daft as it sounds, I think I've said it before about those 3 zones that the 3 centre-backs are in. Are they used to being in 3 segments, or are they used to being in 2 segments where I lock down the right, you lock down the left, for example? When there's a 3, okay, you really should be saying, I'm going to lock down this sort of left segment, and then centre back says the same for the middle segment, and then the right centre back says the same. But even me saying that, to me, is confusing. So it shouldn't be, because these are professional footballers. However, I think if you've grown up in a traditional back 4 and that's all you know, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, and especially if one player does their job but 2 don't, or 2 do the job and 1 doesn't, it does throw everything out. And what you sort of don't need is a situation that we had with Semenyo running through on goal, and one of the players, I mean, there's enough of you, one of you could just shift across and sort of block off his running lane, or even slide and do a last ditch to try and intercept that strike. But anyway, the young, Yoro, Heaven, they are young, they will learn, but they need to learn fast. You're playing for Manchester United, you haven't got much time to get to where you need to be. So, as I've said, put your comments in below, how you think the game went, what you think about the weekend and where we've finished. We're in that 6th position. Is that good progress in your eyes? Like I said, do you want to see Amorim sort of tweak things? Let's see if he does. He may not have much of a choice. I mean, we've also got Casemiro missing as well against Villa, because he's picked up another yellow card, which means he's got a 1-game suspension. So that's going to be interesting to see if Meno gets his spot, or has his brother ruined it, because as much as Amorim doesn't go on social media, someone is going to show him that picture. So let's see. We might see Ugarte in there with Bruno and Meno still on the bench. I don't know. Let's see. So as always, thank you for watching Dan Talks United. Please like, please share, please subscribe. I will see you on the next one.